The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, has resumed importation of petrol 1 year after announcing it has stopped importing the product. NNPC's former Group Chief Executive Officer, Mele Kyari, on November the 12th, 2024, said the National Oil Company has stopped importing petroleum products. However, in its State of the Midstream and Downstream fact sheet for November 2025, published on Wednesday, the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority said NNPC imported petrol last month. The body said the importation of petrol by NNPC contributed to a significant increase in total petrol supply in November, as it jumped from 46 million litres in October to 71.5 million litres per day last month. Professor Izielen Agbon is an energy expert and he joins me now for this conversation. Thank you very much for being here. Let's unpack this quickly. Is it general knowledge that they stopped importation, or there is a better explanation for what we're currently seeing? Was the initial halt in export petroleum products total or partial?
There actually was no termination of the importation of petrol into Nigeria. What occurred was that the amount that was imported was reduced because of the production of Dangote refinery. So the CEO comment in November of 2024 that importation of petrol or PMS into Nigeria was not correct. What happened was that Dangote just took up a percentage of the domestic market. And to this day, it is now started producing about 40 to 50% of the amount of petrol that was consumed in Nigeria since October 2024. And so they have continued importation. So the importation of petrol in Nigeria was reduced, and there is a struggle between Dangote and the importers, PMS importers, to control the market. This is why Dangote called them an oil cabal.
So explain for a layman the part of the report that I read earlier, that this from the State of the Midstream and Downstream fact sheet for November 2025, published today, that there was a resumption in the purchase of petroleum products. You've explained that it was not a real stoppage in the importation of petroleum products, but this says different. So is there an explanation perhaps?
I think it was a misreporting. What the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority said, what the authority said was that in November, they imported 71.5 million litres of PMS a day. The reason why they said out of this 71.5 million litres, 52.1 million litres was imported and 19.5 million litres was produced by domestic refinery like Dangote. They explained that the 52.5 million litres was extraordinarily high because there was a low importation in August and September and October of this year, and they are trying to make up for it. Secondly, there is a 17 days reserve, and they want to increase that reserve to 31 days. And thirdly, that there is Christmas coming, an end of year festivity, and they want to make sure that they have a big stock of petrol rather than so that they can handle any emergency. Then finally, they said there were 12 importing ships, vessels, they were supposed to discharge in October, but they discharged in November. So the November figure was extraordinarily high because of these four reasons. Actually, telling anybody that you are importing 71.5 million liters a day in Nigeria is highly unusual, because our domestic, our consumption, national consumption, is actually 46 million liters a day.
All right.
And more often than not, they normally overestimate. For instance, the NMDPRA says that our national consumption is 52.9 million liters. That's about 6 million liters a day more than we actually consume.
Should we be worried then?
Because they estimate these things.
Should we be worried then? Because this fact sheet is being reproduced in the press by journalists who might not know it's a body that is saying they are providing a fact sheet. Should we disbelieve them? And that's one part of the question. The other part would be, what is the overall implication of the continued importation of products, especially if, again, we are to believe them, that this importation contributed significantly to the number of the supply that we had for November across the country?
Well, first and foremost, maybe I can give some figures here, according to them. In August 2025, they imported we supplied 46.2 million, and they imported about 26 million liters. They are claiming that in September, they imported about 22 million liters, and in October, they imported about 29 million liters. Now, the best way to deal with this thing, we should stop importation of PMS. Dangote produces about 45 million liters a day today, and supplies about 23.5 million liters into the Nigerian market. The rest Dangote exports. Most of the time they get confused because they confuse the capacity of Dangote, 100 capacity to produce 53.5 million liters with the actual production. For instance, now Dangote cannot meet the total demands that we have in the country, because even right now, one of its units is shut down. It's one of the units that produces petrol for Dangote is shut down, like the ROFCC unit, the residual fluid catalytic conversion unit. So they need to import. The way to stop importation is to actually go and put our 4 refineries into production. We cannot have a situation where we have our 4 refineries for 22 years and we are putting money in there and the money is being misspent. Repairing a refinery is not rocket science. So we can have a situation where when we have our 4 refineries producing, then all our domestic supply will be produced in Nigeria and our consumption will be produced in Nigeria. Dangote will take a part of the market and the NNPCL will take, the refinery will take another part of the market with other private producers that are coming on stream. The importation of petrol should be stopped as one of the major policies of the federal government. But I don't think they are making that a priority, because the importation of petrol benefit a very powerful cabal in Nigeria. That cabal was responsible for sabotaging our 4 refineries.
All right, Prof.
But they are fighting Dangote left and right.
There is so much to unpack with this subject matter, and I'm a bit worried that this fact sheet is circulating. That means probably we also in the media are dropping the ball. But thank you for clarifying things.
Yes, thank you very much. I think that the press should go and look at the data given by the NMDPRA in August, September, October, and November. And it will be very clear what they are trying to explain. Thank you very much.
Thank you again, sir.